took the keys of papacy and he unlocked the galactic center. That was an encryption over the planet. That was a blockage. Because that blockage in itself was tether connected to the Van Allen belt. So now we're going through a resurrection process. That's why they got a damn American Pope now. So everything is going back into its original balance because the system is falling. The church is falling, the economic system falling. So that's why I said that we shall inherit the earth. So this is why you, like I said, everything has to go through that restoration. It's the fall of false kings. It's really a chess game. It's a chess game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the word for meat is just feminine. I mean feminine.
So when we seeing, okay, so now how does the Pope thing, because we spoke, I think I spoke to both of y'all and we talked about the Black Pope and all that. Brother B-Dale, you got a whole damn master's class on your channel with the Black Nobility video that you did. So when it comes to that, and I knew all this was going on, was about to happen, the American Pope, and then we know that Trump is a double agent, right? Because he's also in bed with the people in Israel, if I'm not mistaken, right? So how does,
he on that list.
So how does that all tie into, you know what I'm saying, like the fall of the old one, because we know how, how does that all kind of play into now?
Now, you don't remember back in his first presidency, he said, I'm going to save Israel for last. Right? Just because they trying to do business as usual with him, all they doing is trapping themselves. He ain't working for them people. They don't know that though.
Which people?
The Mossad. That's who run Israel.
You said who
the
run
Mossad
Israel?
The Mossad.
Yeah.
So look, the Mossad is a hybrid KGB, CIA, and MI5, MI6. They all got together and had a baby called Mossad. The Mossad is the intelligence agency. It's just like over here, we thought that the people in D.C. was running the country. None of them senators ever wrote a bill. They all sponsor it. Who the hell writing the bills that they sponsoring? Most of us don't know that the senators only supposed to meet for 6 weeks out the year at the beginning of the year to discuss new business, but they didn't turn it into a full-time job so that they could fleece the people. They only supposed to come together to solve problems in the community, but they coming together to cause them instead. That's why they keep creating all these laws, making everything illegal. So they can put some kind of monetization to it and license it out to people, because remember, they got to make it illegal before they can give you a license. Because a license is just permission to do something illegal. All crime is commercial, right? They operating under the color of law, the colorable law, using the uniform commercial system. So they dress in their uniforms for the appearance of legitimacy. All the time, they Machiavellian frauds. It was a good concept and it worked real well until somebody grew up that recognized the people on the land being displaced and said, who doing it? And then you dig behind the scenes and you pull the dirty players out, and now don't nobody believe it because it's so phenomenally basic.
Yeah.
They was looking for a whole bunch of other things to be the contributing factor because of the narratives we've been fed. Everything they taught us was to maintain divide and conquer as crowd control. Right? That's why they want all of you haters to sit on this side and all you players to sit on that side. So now we know who to sick on each other. Democrats on this side, Republicans on that side. Catholics on this side, Christians on that side. Muslims on this side, Hebrews on that side. Now, sick them, everybody. Get the people you don't like that we told you not to like so we can control all of you motherfuckers. The same. Everybody's still thinking that Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves with the Emancipation Proclamation. That's not what that means. And it got nothing to do with freeing nobody from nothing. And emancipation is to transfer ownership from one party to another. We don't know the language, so we think we know what they're talking about. Right? Because we thinking in terms of an emancipated minor.
Mm.
Right? Emancipated minor just moved from a child's capacity to an adult capacity. The Emancipation Proclamation was the public declaration that we're going to take the group, the minority out of slavery, so we can put you all in it.
Mm.
The right to own slaves was reserved by the government, not the people. If you put somebody in slavery, they're going to charge you with a crime. But when they do it, it's okay because they licensed to do it, because they got the article, the 14th Amendment, to tell them that once they duly convict you of a felony, that they can make you be forced into involuntary servitude. Then they hyper create crime by minimizing the financial outreach that the people was allowed to control within the confines of their groupings.
Mm.
Right? All the red line is the dotted line that they gonna cut you on. So they use eminent domain under their rights to salvage, using squatter rights to occupy. Because if you can't occupy it, you can't control it. So they get a representatives called nationals and citizen occupational rights to squat certain places. Because occupation is following the 9/10 rule of possession.
Yeah.
Possession being 9/10 of the law. That 1/10 is the only liberating factor. When the rightful owner returned, you got to surrender it. So they been running these games on us with they divide and conquer among race, religion, sex, gender, concepts, and ideologies, using propaganda warfare to make us fight each other. And that's the dumbest shit in the world to me. And we keep falling for it every day.
So, and you make a very, very powerful point. So let me ask you this, because, and either one of y'all can hit this one, but when it comes to a people establishing a sense of independence, so which in my mind equates freedom, when it comes to a people who are, to me, indigenous to this land, but it doesn't matter, but the people that create a form of independence on this land, what is it such a threat to where the occupational, I guess, security corporation soldiers for hire, i.e. the government's military, why is it that they always bomb or want to destroy any sort of small group of people who create a form of independence on this land, i.e. the MOVE movement in Philadelphia, Black Wall Street, et cetera, et cetera?
So we was at war. This first thing you got to remember. As long as we don't realize that we've been fighting the war for 500 years and that the war has evolved over time, we behind the curve. All that's warfare, right? They use that to keep us from rising up, organized. And they also use it to make us not trust our leadership, right? So when the natural leaders rise, they override the natural leader with a manufactured leader. The Rothschilds said that when they need a hero, we'll provide them for them.
Yep.
Right? They never expect that the tribal order was still working where we raise chiefs no matter what the environment is to go out and find a solution to the problems that affect the community. The only problem we got right now is patriarchy, because all of the stuff that's causing all of our problems is patriarchal driven, hyper masculine war energy. Right? What's the counter to that? Bring back the divine feminine, that ocean Sweetwater energy. Turn your life war story into a love story and you live happily ever after. Just do it in the name of love.
Could you go back over that question one more time? What was the other part of the question?
Shoot. Well, the main thing was pretty much why is it that these race soldiers or whatever you want to call these people who work for the corporation known as a U.S. or America, right? Why is it that they feel so threatened when a group of melanated people create a form of independence? So like with the movement in Philadelphia, how they bombed them, you know what I'm saying? They was minding their business, not bothering nobody, the Black Panther Party, you know what I'm saying? Or if you go to Black Wall Street, like why is it when a group of melanated people create a source or a movement of independence that they seem to be attacked militarily on this land?
Well, self-preservation is the precursor to autonomy. And when you have autonomy, that eliminates the jurisdiction that they have over you. So that's why they got to create a have and a have-nots in a dualistic paradox. They got to create a certain demographic of people to be at the bottom of the economic chain to where they're able to compensate for the lack thereof to where they're consumers. So this is all connected to the patriarchal systems of capitalism, because the more that you got people divided, you can control them with their corporate systems. To where now, hey, the Black woman making 100,000 a year, and the Black man only making 50, and she ain't finna fuck with you because you ain't making enough money. So, like I said, the capitalistic system of patriarchy is what's causing the divide. So, like I said, you know, it's one of those things where they got to break us up and cater to their corporations in order for them to keep their systems going. Because if you eliminate the middleman, just like they did with Tory Lanez, anytime you cut out the middleman, they're going to come attack you. That means that you don't need them. Tory Lanez don't need the industry. Nipsey Hussle didn't need the industry. Young Dolph didn't need the industry. All these people were independent. Anytime that you're independent on anything, they're going to attack your enterprise.
Yeah. Now,
but look, there's something that you can be independent and still be a slave.
Oh yeah.
Still not be free.
Yeah.
But you can't be sovereign and autonomous and be anybody's subject.
Right.
Now, the first thing about independence is that means separate from the family. You a single cell. A single cell is easier to crush than the whole organism.
That's facts.
Right? So when you understand they use certain words to undermine our efforts, like revolution. I don't want to go in no goddamn circle. I don't advocate no revolution. I advocate insurrection, uprisings, rebellions.
Yes, sir.
Guerrilla warfare.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Nat Turner, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, real warriors. Yeah. Hannibal Barker. Dirty Bookman. Let's call them out now. We're gonna call them. Let's call the big guns, man. We ain't gonna just call. Hey, I'm calling the big ones. Yes, sir.
Shaka Zulu, Stephen Biko.
Yeah.
The Mau.
Yeah. Ogunye, Shango, them. We calling all them energies, man, for real. Yeah, nah, this is dope. So one of the things I wanted to get into too, so when we talk about all, especially with ties to the corporation, how does like the Social Security number play a role into this system? Like, because if I look at a Social Security number, to me, in my mind, that's no different than if I have like any type of barcode or any type of product number on, you know, any product, right? So what is the Social Security number? How does that tie into
it's corporation? Well, you got the titles is connected to the CASHAPP numbers. The CASHAPP number is the Community Uniform Security Identification Procedure. So that identification procedure is acclimated to titles. These are titles that's connected to the corporation. So they're making money off your life. They're making money off your marriage. They're making money off your death. And it's because of the CASHAPP number. Because those CASHAPP numbers that's connected to your Social Security number, these are all bank accounts, right? You got millions of dollars in it. So I said, like, the corporation in itself, you know, it has to fall because it was all built on fraud. Anything that's built on fraud and everything that's built on a synthetic system only has a temporal power.
Yeah, that's facts. It's because it's not real. It wasn't created through authenticity, you know, through the real creation, you know, process. And I think you look at even like in real time, BBLs, you know what I mean? Like, to me, that's like a sign of the times with the system. Like it's all about manufacturer, you know what I'm saying? Like fake-ish, you know what I mean? Like it's like, but the real stuff, which is us, we've been kind of like dealing with being the imposters within the imposters, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't know that behind like enemy lines of the veil, that it was people who looked like us that was really pulling the strings on a lot of this bullshit that we're looking at. When you talk about this whole entire
A lot of it, the buck stops at the feet of the dark black nobility. This
Right.
where the hidden ones, the unknown ones, right? They don't want to be known. They are moon priests. They want to remain anonymous. Let's all go back to the priest wars. All of this stuff is significant because as long as they can keep us socially, economically deprived and denied the right to live off the fat of the land, they can supply our needs. The easiest way to control people is to control their necessities, not their desires and their wants, their needs. Right? Like we need soap. We used to make it. Now we rely on the store to produce it and have it on the shelf. Right? We used to go and have our own garden, but now because of convenience and it allows us to work in the system's factory outlets, that's the modern day plantations, and get the credits so we can go back and spend our monopoly money on manufactured goods that's been saturated with toxins in order to make us die, so we ain't never live old enough to get our full Social Security benefit, so that the Ponzi scheme can keep running to deteriorate the wealth of the people, and they be living off that wealth. You asked about the card, the Social Security card. Look at the name of the card. What are they securing? A social structure. So you got a card that's allowing you to build this house of cards called the social construct. Right? They use sociology as a means of controlling all of the areas of people activity. But you got to think like a god in order to rise your thinking above the subjugation of the system. But you can't think like a god when you're worried about when your baby next meal gonna come. You got to get out and get it. Right? When you worried about if your mama lights go out, will her ventilator cut off? So you got to figure out how to make sure she's secure. You don't got time to be trying to figure out how do I reach my God mind from here? Right? You don't have that. They keep you preoccupied with nonsense. And your Social Security is just collecting the revenue that you generate. They know how much money your labor produces based off BTUs, calorie burns per hour. If you do this job, we think that it's going to burn this many calories an hour, and at this much a calorie, this is how much that hourly wage should be. But when they attach a double release valve on it, you got on one side, you got inflation that's reducing the purchasing power. On the other side, you got taxation that's reducing the take-home pay. So you being doubly reduced on your principal, your labor. But constitutionally, you ain't supposed to tax the income at its source. So how is you taxing me on my labor when that's the source of my income? Right? Property taxes, that's belligerent to the tribes. As long as you can do the upkeep on the property, you supposed to be able to live there. And then you got competent heirs that desire to keep the upkeep. You can keep it for generations. But when you let it go to blight, you either gonna give it back to the forest, or somebody gonna come along and cultivate the territory. Right? That's the way it was before they came. You didn't have nothing called homelessness. Everybody had a home. Right? It don't matter who you is, you find yourself out in the street, you look over at your man, I don't got nowhere to go, man. I'm going to Big Mama house. Where you going? I'm going to my nana house. Nobody was homeless. Wasn't nobody sleeping in cars and on the curb and behind liquor stores. Even though most of them, the pauper guys that refuse to take part in the illusion. So they'd rather take on all of the suffering required to ventilate the society from the bottom.
That's deep. Now, how does that kind of tie into? Because I know we've all experienced it when you see, like, anytime you see a small group or gathering of melanated people, it could be as small as 3 or 10 or 13 or 23 or 33. Then somehow, some way, you either get a Karen, you know what I'm saying, running up on them, or you got, you know what I mean, community patrol, or you know what I'm saying, or you got, for real though, you know what I'm saying, it's always got to be somebody that has some sort of concern when a small group of melanated people gather. How does that tie into
That's
what we're
social
talking about?
conditioning, going back to the sociology.
Mm-hmm.
The social conditioning. Kieran wouldn't have gave a damn about a flock of brothers being together if the news media didn't say that a flock of brothers being together is criminal activity.
Mm.
It's a threat. All Karen is that hen on the yard that keep all the other hens alert of the shit that's coming. She don't know what she doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She thinks she actually doing something that's good.
Mm.
Right? But she don't know that she gonna FAFO.
Mm.
Right? Because she ain't scared to let the clan know somebody is at the door. Just a little yapper. A little ankle biter. She ain't really that dangerous. She just annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Like a gnat or a mosquito.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody be mad at Karen. Don't be mad at Karen. Karen been conditioned by the system. Be mad at the system for conditioning Karen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's who you be mad at. The angry black woman. Don't be mad at her for being angry. She want her shit back.
Mm.
Be mad at the people that took her shit that frustrated her to the point of rage.
I know that's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's who you be mad at. If you properly put the anger in its proper place, it make life so much easier. It's just more fluent when you flow.
Mm.
And a lot of them be NPCs, though. They're energetically connected to the fact that they have to disrupt any type of amalgamation amongst, so-called black people, because when we get together, that's when we're able to start building
Yes.
sustainable, communities,
Mhm.
bringing different ideologies together. Because
Yep.
just that in itself, and just that perspective in itself, it has the ability to manipulate their reality. So
Yeah.
just don't
What-
see it.
And that goes really, really deep too, because you could speak to this, brother B Down, in regards to when we talk about how divisive and is strategically, a strategy for them to divide and conquer the black, infrastructure of the black home, the black family. So when we talk about a lot of the trauma, a lot of it's because a lot of us didn't grow up in a 2-parent home like you did. So that's a blessing because